In the morning assembly today at Sanad, I wanted to talk to you about values and what they are, how they may be defined, and maybe what are our priorities in assessing them and evaluating them. Um, as students and young adults here, and even for our staff, one of the most important things to understand is that we learn our values from a very young age. If we just consider all of the things that we've learned, how to walk, how to talk, how to speak, how to eat even, one of the things that we also learn in that process is what are values. And one of the interesting things regarding values is that it's not always a natural definition that we arrive to, but oftentimes it's defined by the people around us. And in many cases, hopefully the primary people are the people who are responsible for us, but oftentimes it's defined by people who are not responsible for us as well. So if we pause for a moment, and especially for the young adults here, those students in middle school and high school, it's particularly important that they understand how their values are being formed and shaped. One of the ways, as I mentioned, that we do learn our values is what we observe in our parents. And hopefully they've gone through this process already, and they've arrived to a point where their values are proportionate, are valid, and are accurate, or as accurate as possible in relation to our deen. That's not always the case, but inshallah that's the case for many, if not all of our students, those at Sanad and those outside of Sanad. But if I give you the example of a shoe, for example, many young Muslims are into shoes. Shoes have majority of shoes have a general value of but how we determine which is a valuable shoe and which is an invaluable shoe is often decided by people who are responsible for a shoe company or a marketing campaign, and they help you arrive to a conclusion regarding their shoe's value. Generally speaking, all shoes are made up of three components: rubber, leather, and laces. And certainly there are shoes that are of a poor quality that are just intended to make $1. But generally speaking, the vast majority of shoes fall into a kind of average monetary value category, let's say $30, in terms of the parts and labor and profit margin. But there are shoes that are selling for $300, and then there are shoes selling for $30. So how is that determined? If I'm saying that value of shoes are generally in a pretty well-defined area, how do we determine those shoes that are 300 and those that are 30? So there are people, adults, not bad people, but their job primarily is to help you arrive to a determination of the value of their shoe. Their whole job for the whole year is to help you determine the value of their shoe. And obviously for many cases, they want to try to determine the highest value as possible. And so those are the people helping you come to a conclusion. And so their job, as I said, is to help you think that this rubber, leather, and laces is worth $300. And they're very effective in that. And many of the shoes that you all are wearing or that you want to wear are for reasons that they've determined. And so that's the reason why they sign very wealthy athletes or famous athletes or celebrities to market their shoes. That's the reason why they have very slick commercials and print campaigns. But that's their job. The same thing for cars and other things. But it's important that we are able to filter some of the tools that people use to help us determine values. And we try our best to stay as close as possible to those values that are espoused in the Quran and in the life and example of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Now, that sounds a little bit archaic, but it's important that we just stay very measured, if that's more clear. That we stay very measured in what we value and how we value and the extent to which we value something. So the same thing goes for cars, for example. If I, as a father, am teaching my son who's 7 years old that every time a fancy car passes by, it blows my mind, and I'm just so excited, and he's going to learn that. He's going to learn that, and so I have to be very careful that every time I go through a traffic jam or a highway and I see a good car, that I may get excited or I may want to acknowledge it, but I should be measured. And the reality is that the things that I should be valuing, perhaps I really enjoy good design or beauty or rarity or something being exotic. That's fine, but I should apply that to all spheres of my child's life. So if it's the beauty of the design of a fancy car, then I should appreciate the beauty and design of an insect or a flower or a plant. And likewise, if it's something that's very rare that I'm showing my son that I'm excited about, I should value those things that are rare in Allah's creation across the board. And so, it's inshallah, it should be the qualities of things that we value and not necessarily the material things per se. And this is a very important lesson for you all and for your parents and for us as parents and adults as well, that we teach our children the value of qualities and not the value of things. And so, this is just something that's a reminder. We have many high school and middle school students here, and there may be others that watch this video that value things, be excited about things, be enthusiastic about things, but make sure that they're good qualities that you're valuing. Make sure that they're good qualities that you're attracted to. Make sure that they're the qualities of things and not the things themselves. And that makes you a broader person. That makes you a more expansive intellect, that you're able to see the value and quality in everything, not just one thing. And this is the most important thing in terms of establishing our values, that we value goodness wherever it may be. We value qualities of nobility and goodness and character and manners and respect and regard and beauty. These are the things that we're valuing, and we're not attaching value to a material thing. And so those material things will come and go. At the end of the day, a car is rubber and metal. At the end of the day, a shoe is rubber and leather. And those things will disintegrate at some point, but beauty will remain always. Goodness in things can remain in perpetuity. So inshallah, those are the things that we want to remind you about today, as well as myself and parents, as well as students and children. I hope that there's some benefit in that, and that we pray Allah make it easy for all of us in these confusing times where, like I mentioned in the beginning, there are people whose job it is, not good, not bad, but their job is to help define values for you. But we hope that we're able to define them ourselves, or that the adults in the lives of children are able to help them define them in a proper, proportionate, and accurate way. Inshallah, may Allah make it easy for you and for me. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.